I've heard about this thing NEAT. I'm not entirely sure what all that means. How does NEAT impact weight loss? NEAT, N-E-A-T, it's an acronym. Steven, let's define it. What is it?
Non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So essentially, in a nutshell, it is your caloric expenditure outside of formal exercise. So, you have a workout and your watch tells you burn 400 calories, whatever. That is your exercise activity thermogenesis. And then all of your other physical activity throughout the day, walking around your house, doing your job, hanging out with your kids, just your
sleeping.
Yeah. Activities of daily living, you are burning calories in excess of your resting metabolic rate.
Yeah. So let's look at it like if we broke it down, like what percentage of your total daily calories or your total caloric need during the day is made up of NEAT versus like the exercise?
So there's some ranges there. So if I break it down, just because it's easier for me to do that in my own head, your basal metabolic rate or your resting metabolic rate, for most people, that's going to be 60 to 75% of your total caloric expenditure. So you could actually think of that as a good thing, that you get 60 to 75% of your caloric burn just because you woke up today, just because you're alive today. You're going to get a chunk of calorie expenditure. And then your exercise activity, which people tend to overestimate, may actually only be like 5 to 10% of your total caloric expenditure throughout the day. Again, that depends on how intensely you're exercising, how long, how frequently, all of that. And then your non-exercise activity, that one is going to be maybe 10 to 15% of your total caloric expenditure. And then we can throw in the thermic effect of food, which might be a little 5% at the end. But your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, your NEAT, is going to be higher than your exercise activity thermogenesis, or it should be.
Yeah. So the question is about the importance, like how important is it on the weight loss side of things? It's really important. It's very important. It's a primary importance. So that's the answer to that question. And I think where the confusion lies is like, how do I burn more calories? And the first thing people want to go to is the exercise portion.
Exercise harder.
Yeah, I need to exercise harder. I need to exercise longer. I need to exercise more frequently. I need to pick this specific exercise to get this specific thing done. Or when you look at NEAT, what are the ways to increase that? So I don't have to continue to layer on something where ultimately I'm going to go into a tank that there will be nothing left in there. I can only exercise so much. I can only exercise so hard in my efforts to lose weight. Again, the caloric expenditure equation. What are the things I can do to impact NEAT that aren't those other that are within my control? Again, like you mentioned, like the thermic effect of food. Not something we need to be worried about. Like take that one off of the table. That's not something you need to be worried about. But when you start going back to like your basal metabolic rate, how do I burn more calories without having to exercise more? There are some simple principles there.
So this might be a bit of a curveball, and I'll explain it. If you want to increase your NEAT, eat. Mm-hmm. So eat more. Mm-hmm. To unwind that, a lot of times when individuals are under eating and over exercising, essentially they're forcing a caloric expenditure via the exercise activity. They're sort of redlining their body. And what they don't know or what they don't realize is that while you're under eating and then forcing this caloric expenditure, your body needs to cut costs somewhere. And where it's going to cut costs is in your NEAT. So in ways that you're not going to notice outside of that exercise that you just forced yourself through, you're going to be more sedentary. You're going to move around less. You're going to be less motivated to walk the dog. You're going to not be as vigorous as you move around the house doing chores or whatever. So when I'm trying to help people shift away from that eat less, move more, when they've taken it to the extreme, what I mention is, okay, as you eat more and you get more energy throughout the day, you're going to start your activity outside of formal exercise is going to increase. All of a sudden, you're a little more fidgety. You're getting up and down from your chair more frequently. You have more get up and go to clean the garage or whatever you're going to do. So it's easy to say, okay, get up and walk around your office twice a day or something like that. But in the case of individuals who are under eating and over exercising, they really don't have much motivation to get in that extra physical activity. So I know NEAT's something that you talk about a lot with your clients.
Well, first, man, I love that point. I think a lot of people don't really think about that component of it, of just like, there's so many people, especially we see this so much in where we work. We work in the tech area. So there's so many people who have sedentary jobs and they come in and exercise with us, however many times a week, 2 to 4 times a week. But that component of like, under eating and just feeling lethargic and tired all the time and then slogging through a workout because they're trying to push
miserable.
and earn that.
Yeah.
Miserable existence in a lot of ways. And that just can have a cascade of effect
It's
on
no
your...
wonder you hate exercise.
Exactly.
That
And
sucks.
exactly. You're just slogging through it.
Underfueled.
And that's like a huge component too. I see this, I talk about this from an adolescent standpoint all the way to the adults in the jobs now. I see this as a society. I think there's almost maybe more awareness for this up and coming generation of exercising. Like I do think like sports teams are more intense. They push their kids more. I do think that more kids are getting into the gym earlier than they used to. I do think as a society, there actually is a decent amount of exercisers,
In terms of
but
like formal exercise.
But then I think where the issue is where we're kind of still having a degrading health status as a society is from the NEAT, is from the lack of activity. There's so many of these kids that go play their exercise, they sit all day in school, they go do their sport for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then they lay around for the rest of the day and they do nothing.
Absolutely nothing other than the sport. Yeah.
And we've seen so much about like how that counteracts a lot of the benefits of the exercise, let alone from a fat loss status, but definitely from a health status of increasing this or decreasing the sedentary behavior and increasing this activity. And one of those key ways, again, I love that component because I don't think a lot of people think about that, of eating more so that you're moving even more. You have that energy that you don't even pay attention to. That's really what NEAT is. It should be activity that you're not even aware that you're doing.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the beauty of NEAT too, is the fact that you're getting this extra movement throughout the day, but at the same time, it's not sending signals of I'm famished, right?
Yeah, right.
So you can still continue to work on increasing your calories throughout the day, but yet at the same time, it's not contradictory to you having to like feeling
Low power mode.
Yeah, exactly.
for sure.
Yeah. So the direct answer to the question is it's extraordinarily important. It's going to make up somewhere near 75% of the total calories you burn during the day. That's where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. How do you get more of that? Eat more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get to your caloric maintenance, understand what that is before you start trying to adjust or adapt these other things like more exercise, more intensity, more duration, more frequency. And one of the easiest ways to impact that, if we kind of look at this one thing, right, without calling it another thing, and that is your steps, right? Like, so if you want to call walking exercise, you can, right? Or you can just call that an activity of daily living, right? And that contributes to NEAT, right? And so you could be adjusting that, man. 10,000 steps a day is takes a little bit of work for most of society, as you just outlined right now. So if you're at 2,000 steps a day, right? Don't go out and say, I'm going to do 10,000 steps a day. You could get a tremendous benefit by just trying to double that, right?
For sure.
Double that. And that doesn't take very much time. And then once you get to there, add another 2,000 steps, right? And then you get to there and get another 2,000 steps. And what you end up finding, this is what I found for me, is like, once you get to, let's say, the 10,000 steps, if that's the goal, right? And not to exceed maybe even 15,000 steps if you really wanted to get after it, right? You'll start to recognize that when you don't get those steps in, you feel it,
Yep.
right? You get fidgety,
Yeah.
right? You're like, I need to move. I need to move. So there's this interplay that's happening internally that you may not be paying attention to, and you won't know it until you get there. And when you get there, be like, oh shit, like I need to move.
I'm antsy, yeah.
I'm antsy. I need to get out and walk. So when we're nutrition coaching folks and lifestyle coaching, and we're getting to the fitness side of things, and we're working through like kind of that sticky web of getting them to kind of understand that it's these moments that they come along where they start to recognize, and this talk that we're having right now really hits home. It's like, dude, I'm starving all of a sudden. Like 3 weeks ago, I was really challenged to get in, my basic caloric need. I was full all the time, right? I was uncomfortable. I felt like I was eating constantly. I even felt a little lethargic. And now, dude, I'm starving. And and then the questions we're typically asking was like, yeah, how much more movement are you getting a day? Yeah, well, now like I'm out walking the dog a little bit.
Now I have fuel in the tank to move.
Yeah, those are the things that are like music to our ears. So NEAT is extraordinarily important. It should be prioritized. And I love that analogy. Like to increase your NEAT, just eat.